Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson. This is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
And tonight we are reviewing another movie that deals with rape and revenge.
We haven't got a fixation on this. It just happens we're doing a couple of movies out of that period on a similar theme.
Yes,
okay?
and it's called I Spit on Your Grave, which was released in 1978.
Yes.
And so it's an interesting one because in this one, it's... I won't go into details, but it managed to bring out a remake that came much years later.
And let's turn around the other way. When it was first put out,
yes,
they didn't like it. It was too graphic, too violent. It was banned here and shunned there, and the critics didn't like it, and blah blah. And since then, it's been remade, several sequels, and
original
and a direct sequel from it. So
the direct sequel was written by and directed by none other than the same director here. And of course, the remakes, he was executive producer, so he had final say on what happens with the actors and what is going towards the money side to it.
The first one became a cult classic in its own way.
Yes.
And obviously there was a market for the other ones. Otherwise he wouldn't have bothered making the films, would he?
Yeah, but as I've often said, guys, a lot of times movies back in the 70s, Censorship Board would either ban it or block it or remove it from cinemas on the first week or weekend. And
but it's quite a good story. So look, it's a good basic story. Girl gets raped, gets revenge on the guys who raped her. Yeah. Done. Finished. Yeah. It's a bit like the one we did the other day. What was the other one?
Oh, that was The Last House on the Left.
Yeah, so the guys the guys killed the girls and then the parents killed the killers. Well, this one here, the girl's getting revenge.
Exactly. Well, the girl does anyway. Anyway, it's an interesting take where victim turns into vigilante or
vengeance be mine, saith the girl.
Yes. And I don't have a big problem with this one, because it started off where she's a nice girl, with no big problem with the world, but then her life was ruined by these jerks.
Yes, these four guys.
Four guys, yes.
Here we go. Produced by Joseph, I think it's Beda, Z-B-E-D-A. I think it's a silent Z. I don't know. Can't tell you. Sorry if I've said his name wrong. Written by Mia Zarchi, directed by Mia Zarchi, and edited by Mia Zarchi.
Yeah, meaning the guy is another hands-on job.
Like
as I often say, it's usually good when the director edits the thing himself sometimes.
Interesting.
That way you get final say on what stuff should be put in and out.
Yeah, when you write it and you direct it and you're doing the post-edit, you can make it just the way you intended. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, budget was $80,000.
Yes.
So it was a low budget job. I do not know anything about ticket sales, so I can't tell you. However, like I said, it became a cult classic, and it obviously made money on the home media circuit. That's why they had these remakes and sequels and stuff made later on. So, hang on. Excuse me.
When such things like this come out, and sort of change the world, the industry, and some people either reject it or they accept it. There are some movies that do get rejected on the first watch, but then they soon become something brand spankly new.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get going back to this. Is made in 1978. Now, this film spawned a 2010 remake.
Yes,
which has since spawned two sequels of its own, I Spit on Your Grave 2 and I Spit on Your Grave 3, and a direct sequel, I Spit on Your Grave Deja Vu.
Yes, which brings back the lead actor, but we'll talk about her later, obviously. Yeah. But let's get down to the cast as we're going along.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yes, because there's something like 5 people in this movie. Not a big cast, even though you do see...
You see a couple of hit pieces, people in shops and stuff,
couple of one-day type scenes with those people, if you will.
When someone walks to the shop, there's somebody picking up some groceries or cutting some meat up,
Yeah.
The background shots. Yeah. Now, here we go.
Go for
it. Camille Keaton plays Jennifer Hills. The hills are alive. No,
don't go.
She's the one who's the victim who becomes the
vigilante
revenge taker, whatever. Aaron
Avenger.
Tabor plays Johnny Stillman. He's like a group of gang leader sort of thing.
Leader.
He got a job at a local service station. He's married, got a couple of kids, but he's a deviant. Richard Pace plays Matthew Duncan, and Andy Nichols plays Stanley Woods. There, he's two sort of no hope a hanger-on mates, and there is no, which one's it?
Matthew was the...
Matthew's, he's the one who's a little bit handicapped, a bit slow. He works at the grocery store. So Richard Pace is Matthew. He's infatuated with this lady. Mm-hmm. Anthony Nichols as Stanley Woods, and Gunter Kleeman as Andy Cherinsky. They're the two hanger-oners that... follow Johnny around everywhere and follow his lead. And this is a good idea. Let's go and do this. Okay. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, that's awesome. Moving on. Yeah, I won't mention anybody else because they're only bit roles.
Oh yeah, we should mention.
Oh, the two kiddies.
The two kids in
this. There's two kiddies in it. Play Johnny's Johnny's kids. Tammy Zarchi and Terry Zarchi. We believe they are the children of the director. Writer and editor.
Yeah, sometimes when you have sometimes in productions, directors or other actors would often bring their own children on board just for the one-day shoots.
Yeah, or put themselves into it. So like, who's it? Crikey.
Don't explain.
Stephen King shows up in his movies occasionally. Pizza deliveries on Rose Red.
I think you talking about, Stephen King.
Yeah, I just said that.
Yes.
I did say Stephen King.
Yes.
Well, I didn't say Fred King, did I?
Sorry,
No,
I thought you... Never mind. Anyway,
right, okay.
he does make appearances. Anyway.
So, yeah, people do that.
They sometimes do it, and sometimes they, according to some reviewers, they think their acting is very blah, but they would just put in because of at the last minute, because sometimes they have already a person in mind, but then that person drops out, or they think, like, this movie is very much a grotesque type movie because of the reviews and stuff like that. And I wouldn't be surprised little children who were auditioned for this their parents refuse to actually cast them in it.
Here's something. I normally do this sort of stuff later. Well, just talking about it didn't go really good at the box office and everything. The film did poorly at the box office, but managed to have some success in video cassette sales.
See?
I Spit in Your Grave reached number 24 on Billboard's 1981 list of the best-selling titles. The film stayed in the Billboard's video cassette top 40 for 14 consecutive weeks. So, it didn't go very good at the theatre, or the cinema, but it certainly did pretty good at the home media market. So there you go then.
Well, it's one or two reviews word against millions of people out there.
Nobody liked it enough to put it on. They thought it was too violent. But the home media people said, hey, we want to see this, so they bought the bloody videos, didn't they? Okay?
Oh, did they ever thought it was a snuff film?
No.
Okay, I just thought I might put it out there. Because some people often keep saying if it has a lot of porn or gross bits, then it's a snuff film.
When they look like people being really killed and hurt. Oh, no, by 1982, I Spit in Your Grave had been released on video 6 times in the United States due to high demand. In 1984 interview with Fangoria, Zarchi said, I found out that of the millions of video machines in England, there's maybe one single house that has not seen I Spit in Your Grave.
Oh.
He claimed that by that point, 20 million people worldwide had seen I Spit on Your Grave. So that's pretty good for a movie that nobody wanted to see or show in the cinemas. So there you go.
Okay, so let's get into...
tell the story?
Yeah, I might as well. So the story takes place where Jennifer Hills is just leaving her apartment to go on an extended vacation to write her book in a secluded cabin in the middle of nowhere.
A place called Kent in Connecticut. You guys in America know where it is.
Oh, I should mention, throughout this particular movie, there is no music. So don't expect
that's interesting. There's no Atmos music. It was all...
relying on
relying
shots
on
and
the
noise,
dialogue, shots, and that
sound.
sort of thing. Yeah, just the normal atmosphere, like the wind in the trees and the river and stuff. But there was no. Interesting. You normally get used to a bit of background music.
Yeah,
but
it
did work.
Seems the director wanted something. He wanted to distinguish it from ordinary other films.
Well, did something different. Or it was a low budget film. Maybe couldn't afford the
composer.
Yeah,
maybe.
composer, yeah.
Anyway, so as she's heading down to the country area, she eventually goes to the gas station where Johnny and his two loafer friends, Andy and Stanley, are just, idly watching as their friend Johnny works and pumps some gas for Jennifer, obviously.
Fills up her tank.
Yeah,
yes.
He sort of eyes her a bit.
Well, she was dressed in a really pretty dress, and she got out of the car and stretched her legs, and she's got really nice legs.
Yeah.
And he was perving at her.
Yeah, of course. She asks the possible address for where she needs to go.
Where the house was, yeah.
Because, as I said before, it's in the middle of nowhere, meaning it's not anywhere near in town, so there's nowhere of knowing.
Well, it wasn't that far away, but she's new to the area. Where someone's down the road, half a mile on your left. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So she gets into a car and drives down to where the little cabin is. And she also orders from a nearby
grocery store.
General store.
Groceries or whatever,
Yeah, to order a few groceries. The usual essential stuff like cereal, bit of vegetables, the usual stuff. Anyway, she then meets the Uber driver.
He was an Uber driver. They didn't have Uber back in those days.
Well, back then they had a guy who was like
a guy on a bloody bicycle, Sarah, not an Uber driver.
I suppose not. But anyway, it makes me think of Arkwright from Open All Hours. Anyway, so he comes into the cabin, gives her groceries.
And he thinks she's really nice.
And he thinks she's really pretty.
But I think he said did she bend over and he saw down her cleavage or something or other, or was he wearing a low-cut dress or something? Because she goes back and tells his mates back at the garage and everything, I saw a lady's breast.
Yeah. Anyway,
and that starts everything.
She thinks he's sweet and stuff, so she tips him and then asks him for his name, and he then heads off to his pals, and he tells her about this cute girl that's living in the cabin, and how she's attractive, and he thinks she
wouldn't mind getting into her.
Of course, his friends, they want to see him, laid.
Being a virgin, they said, "Well, we'll take care of that."
Yeah. For a while, Jennifer is left alone in her solitaire. She gets to paddle a canoe, sunbathe, and have the peace and quiet. Although this doesn't last long, according. Later on, we see Stanley and Andy try to distract her while she's, in her hammock, swinging back and forth. They're driving the boat while she's writing her book. She's a writer, like short stories and stuff. So this is her first big book. Anyway, they start distracting her. Eventually, she heads back inside to write her notes in peace in there, and using a typewriter. We haven't seen the typewriter since years ago. Anyway.
What do you expect?
Point taken.
A quill?
I don't know. Anyway, later on, when she gets back into her canoe, as she's, heading down the river, these guys come back again in their boat, and they kind of grab her rope, her line the line,
the tying up line is dragging the water in front of the canoe.
Yeah, they drag her to a spot, and she tries to hit them with her oar, but with no success, all that stuff, and they start trying to tear her clothes off. Well,
they're in a bikini, and wouldn't take much.
Yeah, and then Johnny appears, and he grabs her, and he and his mates call out to Matthew to get his groove on with her, obviously.
Yeah, because they wanted Matthew, this slightly handicapped guy, to lose his virginity to this really nice lady he had the hots for.
Of course, he refuses at first, but then Johnny and his friends decide to, do it with her, obviously.
Yeah, Johnny and Andy Raper,
Yeah, and eventually she tries to run away a couple of times, and eventually when she gets back to her house, they rape her again.
They're already there.
Yeah, they rape her again, and Matthew finally has his turn with her, even though he didn't
He didn't ejaculate.
Yes, there's no point in explaining that. Anyway, then the
on
other
the notes
guy,
here.
Stanley, he tries to get her to do a mouth job thingying.
He violently sexually assaults her. Just leave it at that.
Yeah,
You know?
and when she's puffed out, exhausted, they finally leave, and then Johnny takes out one of those
He had a
flick knife and told Matthew to go back into the cabin and kill her.
Because otherwise she's going to tell everybody that what they did.
Yeah. Matthew goes back inside, but instead of killing her, he takes the blood from her lip,
And wipes it on the knife.
Wipes it on the knife.
And says, I killed her.
Yeah, he goes back to
the... He's a nice guy in his own way. Yeah.
And then they get into the boat and they ride away while Jennifer lies exhausted on the floor, and then she finally gets up and goes to the bathroom to wash the mud and dirt and blood off herself. And then later on, the next couple of days, she's in this nervous wreck, traumatized by what she experienced, like she cannot. But also, they tore up her novel that she was writing.
And she sticks it back together and retypes it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and
meaning...
she gets herself back together and the manuscript back together.
Yeah.
But then she plans...
her revenge.
Revenge is the word.
She goes to the local church, and there she prays for forgiveness for what she's about to do. Then she kind of stalks Johnny and his friends, one by one. We see Johnny more because in this scene we see him with a wife and children, and this is where the scene we told you guys about, obviously. So anyway, she then phones in an order for. Before we get to that, the group, the guys, they start wondering why there was been no police around at the cabin lately, because it's been 2 weeks. The body was rotting, and no one's bothered to actually contact whether or not she was alive or not. And they think that they better
go and move the dead body.
Yeah. Stanley and Andy go down to the cabin in their boat, and then they see Jennifer lying sunbathing in her bikini on the grass. They then head back, beat the crap out of Matthew
for
not killing her, and tell him to go away and all that stuff. Later on, they get a call from the general store telling Matthew to come to the cabin with some groceries, obviously, which he wasn't sure about.
He worried about what's he going to do when I get there? Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Yes, exactly so.
He gets the groceries, and
he also takes a big knife.
A knife. There's a guy, a butcher, cutting up some meat there, and he grabs a butcher knife, one of the long ones, a boning knife or something.
Yeah. So he takes it and he heads to the cabin, and while he's there, he sees Jennifer in this beautiful white virgin outfit, white dress.
Yeah, not a lot underneath it. She seduces him.
Yeah. As he's trying to chase after her, she eventually flirts with him, and soon enough he drops his guard and
drops his pants.
And he soon tries to get with her, but fortunately she gets the upper hand by tying a noose around his neck, and she yanks it onto a tree, and the guy, Matthew, starts choking, and then soon enough he's dead. And then she dumps his body into the water, and the bike and the groceries, and then she makes a phone call to the store telling him he didn't show up, meaning she's trying to kind of make sure that no one knows that she had a hand in it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so soon enough, Johnny gets approached by her, and he's like, "Oh, it's all your fault. You should not be wandering around naked, blah, blah, blah."
Well, she was naked.
She wasn't naked when she first arrived there. She was wearing an ordinary shirt and dress.
He said she was flirting, the way she was strutting around, the way she was dressed.
Yeah.
That's just the man thing.
Yeah. So she's invited back to her cabin. There she takes out a gun and orders him to strip off down to his, nothing.
Down to nothing.
And he goes on and on about how this is your fault for dressing, very revealing attire and stuff like that. And how was she supposed to know? She was in a private domain.
No. When she was at the garage and stuff.
Yes, true.
Okay? That's what started it.
Okay, anyway. She eventually takes him inside
She pretends to understand his perspective and takes him aside, invites him back inside a cottage for a bit of rumpty-bumpty and a hot bath and everything.
Yeah. As he's, enjoying the water, she remarks about his kids and wife, and he's wondering, how did she know about his children?
Anyway, they're both sitting in the bath, naked.
And she takes the knife that Matthew bought with him that time, and she severs Jonathan's part off.
Johnny was getting a hand job.
Yes.
And then he got another hand job he didn't expect.
Yeah. He doesn't notice until squirt, blood comes out.
Yeah, and then she gets out of the bath and locks him in the bathroom so he can bleed out.
Yeah, and she
nice.
turns on a radio or a record.
Radio,
and
record player,
this
whatever
is,
it was. Yeah.
aside from when they were at the church, there was church organ music there, and this one had classical orchestra music. Those are the two times you get to hear a little bit of music.
That was the only music. There's no Atmos music. That's what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anyway, she's playing it really loudly, and his screams soon die out.
Which means he's passed out from loss of blood.
Yes.
And after he dies, she dumps his body in the basement and burns all his clothes in the fireplace.
Yeah, and she wipes the bath clean.
Oh, you've got to clean that. Oh, it'll look worse than Psycho. Yeah.
Anyway, soon enough, Stan and Andy, they decide to head down to the cabin because they start suspecting that both Johnny and Matthew they have probably contact. They have encountered Johnny's wife, who was asking where Johnny was.
I had no idea.
And she starts slapping him. I think she also worked at the gas station, aside from her husband.
I don't know if she worked at the gas station. She came down there because he was missing.
Yes. Anyway,
I don't think the kids worked at the gas station.
No, I don't think they did, but I think the mother might. Maybe they both owned it.
He was late coming home. He said when Jennifer came past, he was just closed up.
Yes. Anyway, she yells at both Stanley and Andy, and they head off and they go back to the cabin. They're which one was it, Stanley or Andy, who gets out to try to find where Jennifer is and try to kill her?
Andy goes ashore with the axe.
Yes. So he carries this very big hunting axe.
No, a hunting axe. A big one for chopping trees down.
That's what I mean, chopping trees down.
That's not a hunting axe.
Anyway, an axe is an axe. Anyway,
no, it's not.
So he goes on.
You used to throw axes, remember?
True, yeah. But it's the same thing. Yeah. Anyway, he goes on shore while his friend stays in the boat. And then this is where Jennifer climbs onto the boat and pushes him into the water. Yes. Then she does exactly the same thing they did, where she's swimming, riding the boat round and around and around.
Starts going around him in ever-decreasing circles, scaring the crap out of him.
Yeah, while this is happening, his friend finally jumps into the water and tries to swim out to his friend. And I think at this point, the axe that was in his hand was knocked into the boat. And she drove in his direction, and when she went towards him, it fell into the boat, and then she grabbed the axe. Yeah.
And then she came back. And when he was swimming out to get his friend, she gave him the axe back.
Yeah, and it practically hit him in the head, and he is bleeding, and his body sinks into the water.
Back, whatever, got him anyway.
Yeah. And then the guy, which one was it? The one who, the last man standing?
Stanley moves towards the boat.
Yeah, Jennifer's already turned it off for a minute, and Stanley approaches the boat, and he's asking for that it's not his fault, and it was one of the other guys.
But like a dickhead, he's coming up to the back of the boat where the motor is, and he's hanging onto the motor, pulling himself up to talk to her. Now, the propeller is right in his abdomen type area.
Yes, and
or a bit lower maybe.
Yeah, and here she says the two lines that he told her when he was taking advantage of her.
He said, "Suck it, bitch," and then she starts the motor, and it disemboweled him, and then she speeds away in the boat.
Yeah, and that's when the credits start to roll. And
very nice, tastefully done.
Yes. Anyway, that's the movie, obviously, and I have no problem with it. It's interesting where it takes a victim and turn him into a vigilante or a person who after revenge.
Yeah. So,
anyway, it's pretty interesting. I'm sorry that it was given such that everyone thought it was disgusting or gross, obviously, because no one not too many people want to see a rape in such detail.
Ah.
I mean, in this one, it practically showed the men's parts as well as the women's parts. When you say?
Yeah.
You do get to see
Bits and pieces.
bits of them, and unlike other movies where you just see as much as the midsection of them, in such close-up shots, this one showed the full shot of both men and women in this. So, anyway, what's he...
I was going to say, when it was written, when it was first being written by Mir, it wasn't going really gangbusters. The idea didn't begin to fully develop until he was starting to talk to the cinematographer guy, Yuri Haviv. And it's funny, and I gather that Yuri invited Zachary, Zachary, whatever, Mir to spend a weekend at a summer house he had rented in Kent, Connecticut, which is where the film was based, and contains an extension of the Housatonic River nearby. So, and they chose to shoot there because it was secluded and it looked really good. So he spent 4 months writing the screenplay. Wow, it's
I bet when he was writing
I suppose when he saw the area, it just inspired him to write it based on that area, and I think, good inspiration.
I bet when he got interrupted, like say a speedboat speeds along, he probably wrote that into the script because he thought it was good.
He had to kill people in different ways. You can't say, die of old age. It's not going to help, is it?
I mean, that was pretty interesting, considering that people do get the odd, the odd someone interrupting you in your private moments, sort of thing. I do wonder whether or not that particular cabin is a very quiet, probably not secluded type cabin when you think about it. What is it, Mike?
I was just reading about the casting.
Okay, go on.
When they casted it, they put an advertisement in a magazine called Backstage.
Oh, I see.
And that sought one woman and 4 men in their 20s to star in a low-budget production.
Oh, I see.
The role that Camille applied for, Jennifer, had over 4,000 actresses apply for it.
Ooh.
How the hell would you sort through 4,000 actresses?
That's another thing. How did they even so much stay longer for the audition to realise?
You get letters, telephone calls, whatever they had back in those days. They wouldn't have had the internet. And here's a photograph of me, and this is what I've done. And he liked her because he had some experience behind her.
Yeah.
And she was also a beautiful woman and very photogenic, and that's what I wanted.
I did wonder when they heard about that there might be some nudity and a little bit of gore and rape and whatever.
Yeah, she was
looking like rape, obviously.
Well,
for
pretend
raping. I wonder how most of those actors would have reacted to that sort of thing. They probably would have been shocked.
Yeah.
Well, I think they probably would be shocked. I mean, they'd probably say, who would in their life would want to be casted in such a nasty, negative type role? Even though we've already had.
When you have you got to understand, this is back in 1972, was it?
Yeah.
And things were different back in 78. Things are back. I think in those days were different.
True.
Today, a different culture, a different sensitivity to violence. Back in those days, this is pretty gross.
Yeah, true.
You gotta look at that. You didn't live back there. I mean, you have something like I might mention it the other day when Frankenstein first came out in about 1932 or whatever it was. You had Boris Karloff playing the monster, and that was supposed to be a really scary horror movie. By today's standard, it's almost
cheesy.
It's almost a kiddies movie. It is so tame. Because everything's changed. Every decade, it's changed a bit. Yeah. And by now, there's nothing really horrific in it, apart from the fact that some guy sewed up some dead body pieces and made a man. That's it. Apart from that,
It's
nothing
true.
else in it.
Yeah.
So, but back in its day, so things change. Yeah.
Yeah. Some people have a different depiction of this sort of thing. I mean, it's kind of interesting how such a movie that gets so much hate somehow develops a very big fandom, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, even today's standards, we're still trying to find the newest way of actually producing a film. And it seems like the independent ones seem to know what they're doing about what they need to give to the audience out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so what's reception like? I'm curious about the reception side to it. Even though I probably think it's at the time.
Well, Roger Ebert didn't like it. Obviously, he said a load of crap, a bag of garbage.
I bet everyone thought it was that
Times,
bad.
Offenders of films. Critic Luke Thompson of the New York Times stated that defenders of the film have argued that it is actually pro-woman due to the fact that the female lead wins in the end, which is sort of like saying that cockfights are pro-rooster because there's always one left standing. Yeah, so he didn't like it either, by the sounds of it. It's one of those movies you either go, a lot of people hate it, but it became a cult film and now people like it.
Yeah.
It's one of those type.
Yeah. I think people are afraid of that type of movies because they're afraid of looking at the truth.
Yeah.
To a certain degree.
Yeah, because crap like this happens. People do go missing all the time. Yeah.
And some women do get raped in the most horrible situations.
And so you see it, oh no, it's not very nice. You don't watch that. Yeah.
It happens even at the most likely times. You could get a home invasion, or a bunch of guys break into your home and hurt you.
And stuff like that happens. And
even then, probably.
We make a movie out of it. Oh, that's terrible. That's not very nice. Don't want to see that. Well, it's in a newspaper.
Yeah. It's just like when they did The Last House on the Left, where in that they made a movie and trying to explain how home invasion can be very scary when you think about it. And of course, what else can you do? I mean, in most cases, people would either panic, or if they just have to sit back and watch as the whole thing unfolds. And sometimes the effects of that sort of thing can be very bad, because by the time it's over, if the person is, is no longer part in the picture, obviously.
So I was wondering if a female wrote and directed and produced the film.
Yes.
Would the females viewing audience and feminists, would they be protesting about it?
I don't know.
Because a man made it. You see?
I get it.
It's all perspective, isn't it, folks?
Yeah. You would think this type of movie would inspire more of the feminist movement.
Yeah, but the point is, if a man made it about a female being raped by men, they're not saying, oh, the female got revenge. They're not looking at that aspect of it.
No, it doesn't
they're
seem
looking
like
at the four guys that ganged up on the girl and raped the crap out of her. Now, again, in national bans, many nations, including Ireland, Norway, Iceland, West Germany, banned the film altogether, claiming it glorified violence against women. See what I mean? Canada initially banned the film, but in 1990s decided to allow its individual provinces to decide whether to permit its release. Since 1998, some provinces such as Manitoba, Nova Scotia and Quebec have released the film with a rating that reflects its content. Etc. This goes on. In the United Kingdom, the film was refused a cinema certificate by the British censors. However, since films on video did not need censor certificates at the time, it released on home video and people saw it anyway. So that's the whole problem. We've not got to show it in the cinema, but you can buy it in the shop. What's the difference?
That's usually the hardest. If it's not shown in theaters anywhere, it's a little hard for me to see if it's worth a video to actually purchase or hire. And that's probably one of the reasons why I hate most about buying movies, because then you don't know if you're going to get a bargain or you're going to get a waste of money. That's the thing I hate most about certain movies these days. That when you can't really watch it in theaters, you're forced to buy it, obviously, and that's a little annoying when you think about it. Anyway, so it's a little sad that this movie got such, a
bad rating.
A bad rating, that unfair one.
But being fair, look, it's a creature of its time, the 70s, 1978. And the point is, to me, a lot of movies of that period, the lower budget movies, and even some of the ones a higher budget, were a similar quality.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, forgetting the content, the rapes and whatever, it was good filming, good storyline.
That's another thing, Mike. You said it yourself, seeing as this takes place during the 70s, and the 70s movement was all about the strong female movement.
Well, I didn't say that. I'm just saying that the style of movie. I didn't say, I'm talking about the filmmaking.
I know, I just figured.
I didn't say anything about the feminist movement.
I was just thinking that this movie was not just about a woman getting raped. It was about a woman taking control of the situation by trying to get these guys to be lured in by her beauty, and she takes her revenge on them, obviously.
I was talking actually
I know
about
you're talking about
the
something separately.
Style,
but I'm talking about how this movie took place during the feminist movement, and the fact this one was mostly about women taking control of that situation.
Yeah,
but
she got vengeance
and
revenge.
None of the those guys who ever thought that this was just a rape and revenge related movie. They never thought maybe this is a good type of movie for allowing women to take control of a bad situation and trying to get something out of it, obviously.
Now, what I was trying to say before you said your bit, I was saying back in those days, and it's similar type of low budget films would have been made in a similar way. Forgetting the content about the rapes and whatever, I was going to say, so if I'm going to go and judge this, I'll judge it in its category of a low budget, pretty much independent type film. Okay, so I am actually going to I'm going to grade it now, and I'm going to give it based on the period and the type of genre. I'm going to give it a 9. Sarah might not give it a 9, but I'm going to give it a 9.
Well, anyway, as I said before, guys, I like the fact that it took a weak woman and turned her into a strong woman.
Exactly. I like that part of the storyline.
Because I didn't like the fact that she was taken advantage of, but this is kind of her growing point in the movie. If she didn't, and by taking control of those men, using her body and her...
And they were going to kill her.
Yeah. I'll
go back and kill her. We've done our business. Wait a minute.
Yes, but I liked it that she took advantage of the guys because of getting them by using her body's means.
Well, she seduced the first guy, Matthew, and then she seduced Johnny. And then she just attacked the other two guys. Yeah. The last guy standing.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. And I do think that's the best approach I ever seen in this movie. Anyway, I'm going to grade it now. So I'm going to rate it 9.5 out of 10 myself. Wow. I mean, I don't like body gore or even rape.
Rape and stuff. But it
I
makes
like
for a good story in this one.
The fact that it was a good story. And I like
she got revenge.
And despite some reviewers out there who don't like it, and they don't like the sequel that came... The original sequel that came out of this years later. I have no issues with the sequel, only the dates or what it's detailed in Wikipedia. It says it took place 40 years later, and her daughter would be either in her 40s.
Can't be 40 years later.
Because her daughter would be in her 40s.
Yes, I know. Yeah, so
I'm doing the math.
Yeah, duh.
If it was 20 years later, I could really relate, obviously. But if it was done 20 years later or made up for the movie, obviously, then that makes more sense.
In the notes. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't have a problem with that one, and I will probably may not review the remake anytime soon. Maybe I may change my mind, but seeing as we might want to move on very shortly away from this to do something else, which brings me to the other movie we could probably review next time.
The Care Bears.
No.
Okay, right.
You're getting close because we've already reviewed a previous other movie that we watched not too long ago.
Winnie the Pooh?
No.
No, I don't.
The other one, the Sarah movie, Mike.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that one. The Initiation of Sarah.
Yeah,
the remake.
Yeah, we're going to review that next time, the 2006 one. I do think it's a worthwhile movie to actually watch and to talk about, obviously.
Sounds good.
So that's about it from us tonight. Oh, do you have anything else to add, Mike?
No, but I'll tell you where to get it in a moment.
Okay, go for it.
Right, now, if you want to buy it, rent it, whatever, here we go. eBay, it's for sale. There you go. Remember, this is a 1978 one. There's also a 2010 one by the same name, which is a remake.
So don't get this movie confused with the other ones.
1978. Now, there's also box sets there. There's it's 3-disc one. There's a 6-disc one. So you have lots of good groovy things if you want to get into it.
Yeah.
Now, Amazon, it's rentable. It's also for sale, obviously. Now, here we go. Watch out for VHS, as this is an old movie. 1978, remember the old days of the tapes? And maybe Laserdisc might be sneaking in there, so be careful what you buy, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, can't think of anything else to say. A damn fine movie, period movie, I would say, because it was a creature of the 70s.
Yes.
By today's standards, it's a bit, well, it's average, but for the 70s, that style of movie, a lot of them, these lower budget movies, were made in a similar fashion. And they got away with quite a lot of good filming on the skinny budget.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
So, yeah, that's why we're rating it reasonably high and think it's a good watch.
Yes,
How's
guys.
that?
I agree. So be sure to remember the year this movie came out.
Yeah, 1978, not the 2010 version.
Yes.
Which is probably very similar, but not the same.
Of course, different eras, obviously,
Yeah.
considering that one takes place in much more modern day.
But certainly, the box sets aren't that expensive, so if you want to, if you've seen this, if you can see this one, if you rent it and you like it, then the box set isn't that really expensive.
Yes.
If you want to go into it a bit more, because it is a good watch.
Yes.
Again, this movie would be a bit more 70s style, where the other ones are more
modern day style.
More 2010 onwards.
Yeah, and
so
they were probably
the filming style and that is a bit different.
The acting and the and the storyline would be different, obviously, slightly. Although the remake one is very similar, where it deals with the girl, Jennifer, who goes in the middle of nowhere to try to write a book.
Anyway, do you want to kill it?
Yes, might as well. So, guys, this is Sarah Stephenson, and this is Mike. So we'll see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls Film Review. So I hope you have enjoyed this video, and
I hope you do. It's these old movies, especially you young guys who probably haven't seen some of these old movies. They're worth a look at. I mean, like Billy Jack movies and stuff. These movies, they're creatures of the times, and when you look at it and say, for what they were back in those days, you look at it, wow, you can see where they're coming from.
Yeah. And for the girls out there, I know that you guys are probably deeply scared to watch a movie that deals with rape and revenge, but it does have something good that comes out of it by, of showing a woman's empowerment in that period.
Yeah, she felt empowered, and she went after the guys who violated her.
A little bit like Final Girls who get the upper hand with the slasher killer, if you will.
Yeah.
There's not very much difference, obviously, because the girl suffers a great deal in this sort of thing, and she gets the empowerment to fight back.
We've got nothing to lose. I just been violated. I got nothing to lose. My dignity's been gone. They almost killed me. So bugger. I'll get my revenge. Yeah.
Yes, so so be sure to check it out and let us know in the comments what you think of it. So that's about it from us, guys. You know who we are. This is Sarah Stephenson, and this is Mike Stephenson.
Yep.
So we'll see you guys around on our next podcast. Bye now, guys.
See you later. Have a good night. Bye.